Hey, so we got cut off there a little bit, but continuing our discussion on DeRozan.
The last thing you said was would I rather have Bradley Beal taking my shot
or Klay Thompson?
Or Klay Thompson? The answer is probably on shot. Sweetness of shot alone. The answer is yes. Right? But on overall players, I think DeRozan is a way better overall player than those guys, for sure. I'd way rather have DeRozan on my team than those guys. I think it's a matter of positional efficiency. I think that's what you can chalk it up to.
To me, he's a 3.
Yeah.
He's a 3.
Well, like I said before, is that for me traditionally shooting guards are the 3-point specialists. Those are the the Derek Fishers, the Robert Ory's, the Kyle Korvers, the Jason Capo. Those are the specialists, right?
Or even somebody who can just get their own shot, like a Jamal Crawford.
Sure, yeah.
A heat check, like when all else fails, break glass in case of emergency. This guy can go 1-on-1.
Right.
I think of you could think of Nick Young, sort of like that too. But
obviously,
DeMar doesn't have those
mid-career Ray Allen obviously would be the best example because that guy was unstoppable, shot or drive.
You think about all the best shooting guards. You can even put Allen Iverson in there.
Sure,
unstoppable 1-on-1.
Yeah,
right. Whether you had a 3-point shot or not, you can make a play 1-on-1. DeMar is not a 1-on-1 player to me. He's a guy that thrives on coming off screens and pin downs and being in a system.
Right.
I think he could be really effective on you think about maybe the Jazz teams with Sloan. I think he could be really effective on a team. He's effective on our team right now just doing that.
Yeah.
But if you want him to be a guy to hit the game winner, you're down 2 and you gotta make a play.
Yeah.
Is DeMar the guy? If you had a choice from all the guys in the league, would he be in your top 20?
No. The answer the answer to that is real, but
so there are 30 teams in the league, and he's not even in the top 20. Okay, you're not even in the top 20
overall players
that you will want to take the last second shot.
Yeah, of course.
He's not. How good is he really?
Right.
I
think he's as good as you and I have said. He's as good as his contract. He's as good as 4 years, $38 million. Is that what he's getting?
9.5 a year. I'll say $10 million a year.
Something like that. He serves that role well, but it's not. And this is why I'm saying, if they have a chance to go after, to trade into the draft to get an unknown commodity like an Andrew Wiggins, if it's possible, right? It's probably not. Right, but realistically, if they have a chance to trade for somebody like that, where this guy could or could not be good, DeRozan, I think it's kind of established. He can potentially be the second best player on your team. Wouldn't you say that?
Yes.
This season has made it very clear to me that DeRozan can be a legitimate second option.
And a lot of people still debate that. So at worst, you're third best player in our championship team.
Yeah.
So he could beat a Bosch on the Heat.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
For example, if I put him on the Pacers now, is he your second best player?
If he's on the Pacers now?
Yeah. Don't take anybody off the team. Keep Evan Turner, Stevenson, Hibbert. Is he your second best player?
He's probably your third best player only because of you take Hibbert. It's weird. You take Hibbert. That team's already structured to be that good. Not taking anybody off the team, you're just making them better and putting them into different roles.
If you
can't take Hibbert is the second. You'll agree. Paul George is the best player on the Pacers, and Hibbert is definitely the second best player on the Pacers.
Right.
You couldn't take either one of those.
But could you say for sure DeMar is better than Lance Stevenson?
I would say for sure DeMar is better than Lance Stevenson.
Okay, I wouldn't say that for sure because I feel like you take Paul George off that team, Lance becomes much more. He gets the ball more often.
Yeah,
and I like to see what he'd give us.
Interesting. I think that's more of a.
I'm not saying that they'd be a really good team. I'm just saying he could put up numbers.
I think
and DeMar's been on bad teams for so long, and he hasn't really put up big numbers.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of controversial. I don't know that he's proven to me either. But is he one of those question marks? Yeah,
Yeah.
Same thing with this guy with Dion Waiters. Another question.
What is his skill set? He can really handle the ball.
Yeah.
He can really cross people up.
Yeah.
Hey man, I like that on my shooting guards.
Yeah.
If you put him on the Clippers, is he your third best player?
Yeah.
DeMar. You see, you have to think about it. If you have to think about it,
he's your third best player.
Better than DeAndre.
Yeah.
Better than Jamal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so too.
Okay.
Though at the same time, because this is the role, the final shot. Who should take the final shot for the Clippers? Do you think right now?
To me, it's still Chris Paul, but I haven't seen Blake do it. Playoffs are totally different. That's what it is.
Let's just say right now, it's a regular season game. It's late in the season. You have to rely on somebody on the Clippers to take a shot.
For me,
right?
The objective is just to win the game, or a long-term objective.
Win the game. Just win the game.
Chris Paul, still Chris Paul to me.
Interesting.
Long-term objective is Blake Griffin. I want to build his confidence.
Right.
So
I don't think that. I think that's a fool's errand. I don't think Blake Griffin's shot will ever be good enough. That I feel confident.
Oh, I'm not saying shot. I'm saying a play. Game-winning play.
Fine. Okay, I could see that.
Because he's making enough of his free throws
Right.
to he's shooting like 70%, 71%. That's good enough.
Yeah.
It's not like the 62% or something.
See, but so here's what I'm getting at is that if DeMar DeRozan is on that team, he's the third best player on that team, right? But that doesn't mean that I still would probably say that Jamal Crawford definitely has merit in taking one of those last shots, if not the last play, the last shot. I would not be against that, and I would not call Jamal Crawford, a great player by any means, but he serves his role well.
Yeah.
The problem is that the Raptors don't have somebody to serve the role that DeMar DeRozan is trying to serve, which is best player, shooting guard, maybe small forward.
Honestly, I would take Ross taking that last shot. I would take Ross to take that, just to catch and shoot.
Yeah.
Right? So give the ball to Lowry, let him create something, give it to Ross to shoot. Just to shoot.
I don't know. I'm giving it to Lowry and seeing whatever the hell Lowry can come up with. Truth be told, which should not be the case.
Right.
It should be. Yeah. That's the thing. It should be DeMar 100%. There should be no debate.
It should be, but he hasn't proven enough.
Right.
How many game-winning plays have you seen him do?
Right.
Right? All of them have been Lowry. I'm sorry. All the time, it's been Lowry. And I'm a big supporter of saying DeMar was an all-star.
Yeah.
Right? Well, to me, Lance deserved it, but...
Over DeMar?
Well,
I don't know
over
about that.
Joe Johnson.
Fine. Joe Johnson
Over Joe Johnson.
You and I will agree Joe Johnson shouldn't have been
If it was either Lowry or
all-star.
DeMar, I was cool with it.
Yeah.
If DeMar didn't make it, but Lowry did, I was
One
cool with it.
One of them had to.
Yeah. Because to me, the MVP is Lowry. Right? The MVP to me is Lowry.
The MVP of our team 100%
is Lowry.
Is Lowry.
So if he's your MVP, he's your best player. Right? He's your most valuable guy. He's your best player, right?
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you say?
I guess by default that's got to be the case.
Right? Because you think about the Heat when they won, who won Finals MVP? LeBron, because he was their best player.
Right.
Back when Shaq won, when Kobe was on the team, who was the best player? Shaq, because he won MVP.
Yeah.
Jordan MVP. You can go back to it.
You can even go to something that we were just talking about. If the Clippers want to win, who's going to be their best player?
Yeah.
Chris Paul.
Yeah.
He's got to be.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even necessarily have him taking the last shot in a big game.
Right.
But still, if they're going to win, he is their best player.
But Blake has got to be almost a co-best player for them to win the championship.
True.
Because Chris Paul has shown us what he can be. How much better is Chris Paul ever going to be in his 8th, 9th season in the league? This is it, right?
Right.
He's reached his peak. And his peak has shown he can't win a championship on his own.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have left New Orleans.
That's not a slight on Chris Paul. That's just the reality of the NBA.
But being a 6-foot guy,
yeah,
the best guy we've ever seen, you could say is either Isaiah or Iverson, right?
Yeah.
The best 6-foot guys, and maybe Tiny Archibald. But none of those guys won a championship on their own. Isaiah had a great team around him. Iverson never had a good team.
Yeah.
Right? You could say the same, I don't know if Tiny Archibald ever had a really great team. But
yeah. I don't know the
So 6-foot guys have a limit.
Yeah.
Right? To win a champ almost on their own. And that's why Blake Griffin has got to be. He's already their leading scorer, but he has to be their go-to scorer.
Yeah.
To me. Chris Paul's their best player. He's their leader, their playmaker. All of that. But Blake has to be their best player.
Right.
Where it's a 10-0 run, who are you going to give the ball to? Give it to Blake, let him make some plays for you. That kind of thing. So, don't even just think of the Clippers. Think about the Warriors. If you put DeMar in the Warriors right now, is he their second best player? Is he for sure better than Iguodala? Is he for sure better than Klay Thompson? for sure better than David Lee.
It's a weird,
right?
It's a weird.
Put him on the Trailblazers. Is he for sure the second best player? Or no, he's your third, right?
He's your third best player,
right? So think about all these teams I named. None of them are really contenders.
Yeah.
Like to me, Trailblazers are not a real contender. The Warriors are not a real contender.
But
the Clippers, maybe.
You put DeRozan on any one of these teams. Does that make them more of a contender?
Well, yes. Yes.
That makes them way closer to the other. I mean, imagine the Rockets. Like the Rockets are the team are my dark horse team for the championship. Imagine the Rockets if they had a DeMar DeRozan option on.
But would
team.
you trade Chandler Parsons for him right now?
Because
I wouldn't. For that team, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, only because I don't want to disrupt chemistry. Off season, if I had an opportunity to trade Chandler Parsons for DeMar DeRozan,
you do it?
I feel like I would do it.
I wouldn't.
There's
I
more.
wouldn't.
There's a method to my madness, though. That's a little bit more than just underlying, because we're speaking about Chandler Parsons specifically. I think that he still is like his contract is still unsigned. And DeRozan's, as we said, is a really well-structured contract. And also I know that in the offseason that DeRozan and James Harden are boys, that they train together in the offseason,
right.
that they hang out together, which could be why he's elevated his game so much recently.
Well, Paul George, too, is kind of in that group because they're all from L.A.
Yeah, it's a Compton thing. But
yeah.
That's why I think DeRozan would do well on that team.
2 for 5 tonight.
Yeah, brutal.
And he missed that one.
Yeah.
Just saying.
He's not helping prove my point by missing.
It's the Cavs.
But this is what we're saying, right? Your best player with 8 seconds left in a game against a team that is really shit. You got to make these free throws. There's no excuse.
And continuing on the point, it's like, yes, I'll tell you why I wouldn't replace Parsons with him. Okay. Because that team is built on spacing.
Yeah. And
they're built on like length. And like Chandler Parsons is like a legit 6'9", right? 6'8", 6'9". Yeah. He can really shoot threes if you give him the light of day. And so to me, that really opens up for Harden to penetrate, right? And Howard to post up. And he would be a guy, like, would I replace Francisco Garcia with him? Of course, but this is the NBA. That will never happen, right? You legitimately, if you had to give up somebody on the Rockets, who would you give up? And would you give up anybody? Like, I don't know. Like, if I'm the Raptors, I'm asking for at least a Lin or Parsons for DeMar DeRozan.
Right.
Would they give those? Would they give them up? No, I don't think so. I don't think the Rockets would do it.
They might. I don't know that they would. I can't.
They wouldn't give up Beverly.
I can't answer that question. It's too hypothetical for me. But I don't think that they would do it, only because I don't think that they would want to disrupt team chemistry.
Right.
Off season, depending on how far they went, I would consider doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? The
my
Rockets are a team that's clearly willing to take those kinds of risks, right?
So he's not good enough player for you to want to disrupt the chemistry,
right?
Because like, if you can have James Harden, I don't care what chemistry you have, you take him,
right?
Right?
Yeah,
because he's really good.
But do you want to disrupt the chemistry on a team that you're by adding the third best player? I mean, it's different if you're adding a second best player, because this is going to be somebody that's taking the pressure off of your killer, off of your superstar, off of your guy.
So let's take the Pacers for example.
Yeah.
Right, because they struggle offensively. Yeah. So would you replace Lance Stevenson with DeMar?
Yeah, I think that I would. I believe that I would.
Would you trade David West for him?
I would trade David West for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Really? You think you'd rather have David West at this point in their
on the
careers?
Pacers? Yeah. If I'm the Pacers, if I'm Larry Bird, I'm like, no, that's a big advantage that we have.
But are you asking if they should make the trade now, or if the trade makes sense, or like long term?
Oh, all of it. Like all of it.
All of it? Like if the trade, if it happened today, if they said we will trade you.
And obviously the Pacers are trying to win a championship right now, so have that in mind as well.
Okay,
because you're not going to think, oh, screw this year, we're just going to go long term. You're thinking we're all in this year.
But in that situation, they can't. They have to keep David West, only because of the fact that they wouldn't have any guys to come in and competently play the four.
Right. But if it was James Harden, you wouldn't think twice about it. That's my point. Right. Yeah. That how good are you really? If you were really good, people wouldn't think like, yo, just get the talent.
I don't
just
know.
get the talent.
Hey, man, I think that this is a little quick. I don't know that I'd automatically assume that James Harden in there, still without the question is still who's going to play the 4. You know what I mean? And
well, Scola could fill in for now.
You forget that Harden played on a team with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's like this is the exact sort of template to what we're talking about. And
you know what? I disagree because none of them are ball hogs.
What?
None of the Pacers are ball hogs.
No, but they're guys all on the Pacers. You're right. They're not. But it's not gonna get them further than what they need. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
I don't think, and I might be wrong, and we'll never really be able to tell in the long term. But I wonder how well things would have worked out with the Thunder as they were, and I still wonder what the ceiling of the Thunder is going to be. Right?
I don't wonder about it at all.
You don't wonder?
Not at all.
You don't think they're going to win a championship?
Like now?
Yeah.
I think they can.
So you don't want like that's the.
I don't wonder. What are you asking me? Wonder if they had Harden or they didn't have Harden?
I wonder if the way that they are currently structured, given what we know about how well Harden, Westbrook, and Durant played together, they still didn't win a championship. If they had another year, who knows, right?
Yeah.
But I don't. I think this speaks about the fact that Westbrook's game might not be best suited to complement Durant.
It's not.
Right? And it's not. And that to me puts a cap on their championship limitations. It's because they're choosing overall talent. That's so bad. That was so awful, that Grievous Vasquez end of the gameplay. But you're choosing a guy who's very talented. Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook would be amazing on the. Can you imagine Russell Westbrook on the Raptors?
If he was,
oh my God, that's the exact guy that I want on the Raptors. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's a guy who's taking that last shot of the game, who's gonna be aggressive. You know.
The only thing that makes me wonder is the injury stuff.
Yeah.
It's like how much would you give up for Derrick Rose right now? That's a really tough question, right?
Yeah.
Because it can really go either way. He could be the Penny Hardaway of our generation. He really could be.
He very well could be. And you know what? I've already gotten to the point where I've seen debates online which really question like how good his 1 year of being good was. If it was just not just like a 1 year, but like it was a down like the league was off that year. You know. That everything was not right.
What is MVP year?
Yeah,
the league was off.
That like I've read that like it was an apparition. Like anybody like he just had the 1 year of being really locked down, and that was that.
Yeah,
you know,
but that's due to injury.
He's
to me,
now his career is pretty much that people are able to look at hindsight at the course of his career so early on. That's how much Derrick Rose seems to have been written off.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess this is the Bill Simmons overall theory, but how good is he if the Bulls are able to play, similar style basketball without him on the team? Is he just a role player? Right?
Well, when he comes back, are you saying when he comes back?
Not when he comes back, but his overall picture. The team has done so well now. Why has the team done so well now?
I'll give you two reasons.
If you take away Kyle Lowry from the Raptors, there's no way they're able to do well, and that's Kyle Lowry. That's not Derrick Rose. Right. They're totally different, right?
I'll give you two reasons why the Bulls are doing well without Rose. One, they're in a very weak conference.
True.
Sorry. If your third best team is either the Bulls without, or the Raptors, or if the Nets get there, the Wizards, those are like the top 6 teams, right? Outside Miami and Indiana. Even Miami and Indiana don't look super good right now, right? So, like, the East is not that strong. So that's one. Because if they were in the West, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. Or they'd just barely be making it, okay?
Yeah.
And two, they have a top 3 coach.
Yeah.
So
Thibodeau is one of those guys. He is a guy who you can say
that DJ Augustine was no effect on our team.
He was on the Raptors. Motherfucker was on the Raptors. He was on the
Pacers last year.
But never mind. You don't have to go that far. I mean, this is a guy, I've said before, the problem with the Raptors is they don't have a legit third point guard option. That they're left with Lowry and Vasquez, and sometimes Lowry and Vasquez are playing at the same time, and they're both aggressive players, and to take one of them out, to say to them, oh, you're in foul trouble, you can't be pursuing this, to me it really said, well, we need to get a...
And DJ was cheap.
Yeah, he was cheap. He was, I think it was a 10-day... He might have been a 10-day contract.
No, he wasn't that, but it was like $1 million or $2 million a year.
Really?
Cheap. He was cheap.
We got him for such a short time. Anyways, you would have thought that would have been a rule that he would have been able to pick out.
We waived him before his contract was guaranteed or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Whatever it was, it seemed like...
So my point is that, whatever the case is with DJ Augustine, he was replaced by CJ Watson. The Pacers were more than happy to do it. Yeah. We replaced him with... Vasquez, and we were more than happy to do it. And now he's on the Bulls.
Nando DeColo, you know?
And now he's on the Bulls, and they're like, you hear Joakim Noah being like, oh man, if it wasn't for DJ, I wouldn't be an all-star this year.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be in the playoffs this year. And everyone's praising DJ Augustine. It's like, that's because Tom Thibodeau took somebody and put him in a position to succeed. He's a guy who needs the ball in his hands. He needs to run, screen, and roll. Right? And he didn't fit on our team, even though he should have, because he'd be great at penetrating, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's just like Tom Thibodeau is a big reason why they're so good without Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
So it makes us think, how good would they be with the healthy Derrick Rose?
This is the good versus the bad. I mean, both those guys, they were coming from let's do a comparison. Thibodeau versus Dwayne Casey. Both were assistants. Both were coming out, of heralded coaches. Thibodeau from Doc and Casey from Rick Carlisle. He was coming off a championship. Off a championship.
Terry Stotts, by the way, on Portland was the offensive guy in Dallas, by the way.
Yeah? I didn't...
People don't know that.
Yeah, I did not
know
that.
So Dwayne was
either.
the defensive guy, and Terry Stotts is the offensive guy. You can kind of see those styles taking over, because Terry Stotts has proven he can coach.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So yeah.
But Thibodeau is a legit defensive guru. He's been able to take, a team with real difficulty, not a single. Who's the second best player on the Bulls right now? The best is clear. Who's the second best? Like Taj Gibson? Jimmy Butler? I don't know, man. And you know what? The answer is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really does not matter who the second best player on the Bulls is.
It's like asking who's the second best player on the Spurs. Like, to me, Tony Parker's the best player.
Yeah. But it's totally different, though, with the Spurs, because you could argue for the goodness to greatness of any of those players. You put Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, DJ Augustine, you put them on any other team, they're probably scrubs. I don't want to diminish these guys.
Is Danny Green really that good on any other team? Right?
Yeah.
Thiago Splitter, is he really that good on any other team? Matt Bonner?
Thiago Splitter.
Jeff Ayers?
Thiago Splitter might be.
Aaron Baines?
They all.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're also taking a coach, right? It's not fair to put that in the same classification, right?
Because what Thibodeau's doing?
No, I don't think that Pop, you can say what he's trying to do, right? Oh. But they have the greatest power forward of all time, probably, and they have a tradition of success. They have a culture of winning and being successful for all of these years.
Could you argue the Bulls had it even with Jordan?
They did, but that's gone.
That's gone, right?
Well, I mean, the baby Bulls put a real end to in my opinion, to that happening.
Well, the Spurs had really bad years until they got Duncan, right?
Yeah. Well.
Oh, you're saying since Duncan they've been okay. All right, I hear what you're saying.
Pretty much since that the Bull once Timmy 3000 joined the Spurs, they've been a contender pretty much every year.
It's just for me, it's difficult to think of a team that's won 6 championships as not having a culture of success. You know what I mean?
Right, of course. But the look at how badly the Bulls were really terrible for a little bit.
They were
really banking on the combination of Eddie Curry,
and
Tyson Chandler, and Kirk Heinrich. Working together. And you know what?
In theory, it should have worked out.
These guys were young, man.
Should have worked out.
You're thinking all of these guys are going to be pretty solid.
You think especially Eddie Curry.
Yeah. No.
I mean, no, but I'm saying, like, if that guy went... the thing is, if that guy went to college, you'd think he'd be better.
Right.
I think everybody would say yes. Right?
Yeah.
Some people would say the same about Josh Smith and J.R. Smith. That guys that came out of high school.
Right.
Only guy who... There's only, like, to me, 4 guys out of high school. Not counting, like... I think Moses Malone came out of high school, right? Not counting him, right?
Yeah.
But, like... Okay, I'll say 5 guys.
Modern day.
I'll
modern day
say
players.
5 guys... Oh, now I think maybe 6. I'm thinking KG, Jermaine O'Neal just thought.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Kobe,
don't diminish
LeBron,
Jermaine
O'Neal. Dwight Howard. Those are the and Tracy McGrady. Like the 6 guys that came out of high school that really turned out to be just as good if they went to college, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, do you think Kobe would be better if he went to college? I think he's as good as he would have been either way, right? Same with Tracy McGrady. Same with Kevin Garnett.
Yeah.
Jermaine O'Neal, I don't know, his first couple years, maybe it's arguable he would have been better, but he turned out to be pretty good in the Pacers. KG, Dwight Howard. I think Dwight Howard would have been better out of college. But that's just me.
He probably needed a good, but he had Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy, I can't think of a tougher, like, he was the definition of tough love. I feel like Dwight Howard might have been doomed from the get-go.
Okay.
Well, he just has that personality. But getting to the idea of Thibodeau actually being a legit sort of coach, right? Versus someone like Casey, who is somewhat is a question mark to me.
Like an average coach.
Average coach.
Yeah.
They're like on paper, the Bulls and the Raptors. Look at them. How well do they match up with each other? Neither team has a guaranteed superstar. I mean, as good as Noah has been, and I like Noah, I would not put him in the category of superstar.
Yeah.
I would not say that Noah can be Noah. There's no way Joakim Noah can be the best player on your team, and you be a championship team.
Okay, I agree with that. I think he can be your best player on the team. I think he can be.
Well, he is right now,
yeah.
clearly,
and they're successful. They're successful. Yeah.
He can honestly say that he led his team to the playoffs.
Like, I think about Noah, and I think about what he did against Dwight Howard and the Rockets.
Yeah.
And how the Bulls destroyed the Rockets.
Yeah.
And it's a different mentality, and that's why I think the Bulls. That's why they beat the Nets last year. That's why they'll probably beat anybody outside the top 2 this year.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think that the Raptors would beat the Bulls? I don't. Do you think the Nets can? I think the Nets can, but I think ultimately the Bulls will. Right?
Yeah.
Just because they've been together longer, right? Like 3-4 years, their core, and they're just mentally stronger. They're more of an FU team than the Nets are. Right, there's probably
I'm
the ultimate.
Chalk it up to coaching, man. That's what I'm gonna do. I mean, I don't. It's not that I feel like player wise. How could you compare? How could you compare the Bulls and the Nets player wise? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about it. It's almost crazy to think about, right?
But is it that crazy if you think about how far? Obviously, Brook is injured.
Yeah.
And his career's somewhat in the balance because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And that's a foot problem.
Right.
How far Darren Williams has fallen off.
Crazy.
How far... Obviously, KG and Paul Pierce are older, right? I can't say they've fallen off because they're not good. They're just old, right? Yeah. And you think about how they really rely on their bench guys. So Jason Kidd has been smart in making the adjustments to, hey, Sean Livingston's going to be our point guard.
Yeah.
And Darren's going to be more of our shooting guard. They have Marcus Thornton off their bench. Which is kind of crazy if you think about it. That guy can light it up. Andre Bloch is off their bench. Miles Plumlee. There's a Mason Plumlee. Sorry, off their bench.
Kirilenko.
Yeah. Utility like Swiss Army knife. Who else is on that team? That's Allen Anderson.
Yeah, Allen Anderson.
I mean, like you think about it, they're really using their bench guys more than their starters.
Right.
And so they're a team that. If those guys get more minutes, they got a shot. And because to me, I saw Sean Livingston.
Right.
I've always loved him.
Yeah.
Obviously, that knee injury is what it is, but that guy can D up, right? That guy has length, and I think he's like 6'7", right?
Yeah.
So he's very versatile. And you think about Andre Blatch has been really good this year for them. I mean,
Young,
the Washington
long,
years
athletic.
are right off just because like it's Washington, and
Yeah.
they had a bunch of dumbasses like Gilbert Arenas was bringing guns to the locker room, all that, right? That was the culture. So Blatch has been really good for them. You know, Mason has been really good energy for them, energy guy for them. You know, they who did he trade Reggie Evans for? They got some. Was it Thornton? Yeah, Thornton. So now they got Thornton, like a legit, shooting guard, scoring shooting guard off the bench. Kirilenko could do a bunch of everything. Allen Anderson could do a little bit of everything. Then you mix it in with Darren Williams and then Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. I mean, it's...
Here's a question, though. If that team is coached by Tom Thibodeau,
oh man,
where do they go? That's a better question than taking players. Take a coach and put him on a team, and how high do those limitations have? You know,
I think the Nets actually wouldn't be
bad.
bad.
On the Thunder, do you think the Thunder win a championship with Thibodeau as the coach instead of Scott Brooks?
I gotta think yes.
Or how about
at least the finals?
How about this? How about Houston? Put Thibodeau on Houston, coaching Dwight Howard.
I gotta think yes.
I gotta think yes too. And that's crazy.
At least make the finals.
And we're saying that a coach has that much difference. Right. You know,
I think that I think it would only work on teams that are willing to play defense. So the Rockets, because they have Beverly and Howard, so I think it could work. And Harden will D up if he needs to.
Yeah.
Parsons can D up. Lynn is average at best. But they got there a bunch of other guys who can D up. I like what Francisco Garcia can give them.
Yeah.
I like what obviously Asik, Terrence Jones has been all right for them. Yeah, I think Thibodeau could do really good. I think he could really do good on the Raptors even.
Yeah.
Just think about him on the Raptors.
Well, that's where I see Dwayne Casey's sort of limitations as a coach. This is what separates him from me saying I absolutely need to re-sign Dwayne Casey, or I can see what else is out there.
Well, I think re-signing Dwayne Casey...
Tom Thibodeau is the coach of the Raptors.
Right.
Would you think that the Raptors could go farther than where they are with the exact same roster?
Yes.
You know the answer is yes. And I would say the answer is yes.
But how many Tom Thibodeaus are out there and available? None.
That comes down to management.
Right. So, to me, it's would you rather have Dwayne Casey? And the bigger question is, where do the Raptors go going forward? Do you continue with this and build on it? Or do you kind of rebuild? Where do you go? Because if you rebuild, you can bring a new coach. But if you build forward, it's got to be a coach that's pretty established. So it's got to be at least like a Nate McMillan or Alvin Gentry.
Okay.
It's got to be, or who else is available? I don't think Jerry Sloan is going to come coach for the Raptors. It's got to be somebody whose status is...
George Karl.
It's got to be somebody
maybe
like
Scott
on that...
Skiles or someone like that, but I don't know how much of a difference that...
I don't know about Scott... Yeah, Scott Skiles and Dwayne Casey, yeah.
It's sort of like a lateral move, maybe.
Because my only thing is that I like Casey's defensive things, what he's running this year. I mean, you see us pressuring like the pick and roll, because the whole game is all pick and roll now, pretty much, right? And I think of how we guard it. It's pretty good considering we have DeRozan and Lowry, as great as he is, off on the ball, he gets blown by a little too much. Like I remember, he's a lot better this year than he was last year. Last year he would gamble way too much and just go for steals, like crazy. But I don't know. Like to me, you got who are we gonna bring in, and are we willing to give up the kind of the chemistry? Because coaching is chemistry too, right? Like what chemistry you have. Like how does Thibodeau handle Lowry? Right now, are we all assuming that Lowry's matured now and that he's never going to revert back to what he was 2-3 years ago?
I'm willing to say that the reason why this season has been a real sort of coming out party for Lowry is that he really enjoys playing with the Raptors. He enjoys the teammates. He enjoys the kind of... he wasn't free to do what he's able to do now when he was being coached by Kevin McHale. And Kevin McHale comes off as kind of an asshole. So I'm not really fully willing to accept the fact that Lowry is an uncoachable guy.
See, this is what I'll say. there was an article that came out that the Rockets wanted to get him back this year.
Interesting.
And Lowry said, it was all my fault what happened. I wasn't willing to listen to the coaches. That's assistants included.
Yeah.
And I could have learned a lot from Kevin McHale, and that was my fault.
Yeah.
So
now there was a story that Daryl Morey tried to get Kyle Lowry back.
Yeah, it was on Real GM, and it was how, you know, like, it wasn't just Kevin McHale being a difficult coach. Everyone considers him a player's coach. Like, you think about Dwight Howard, he has his issues, right, with coaches. Yeah. No issues with there.
Yeah.
No issues with Harden. No issues with a lot of these guys. No issues with, like, Beverly could be seen somewhat as a Lowry type, maybe. Right? Because he's somewhat, like, pretty emotional, gets up in people's faces, can be, you know, very hard-headed. But so Lowry was the one who said, you know, it was my fault. I wish I could have done things differently. I was not willing to listen to coach. And the assistant coaches, they were, like, unnamed source, anonymous source, basically, but it was one of the assistant coaches.
Yeah.
Said Lowry never gave us a chance. Never gave us a chance to really. He never listened. He talked, but he didn't listen.
Yeah.
So to me, it's that is the reason why this year has been. I don't trust it yet, because you got to show me at least 2 years of this before I'm saying, oh, hey, you're worth 5 year, $50 million, right? Because the Grizzlies traded him for a pick, and it wasn't a first round pick, right? And then the Rockets most recently, when he was almost an all-star last year, there was talk of him being almost an all-star with the Rockets before he got hurt, and Goran Dragic took it over, and he was playing on an almost all-star level.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about that team with those 2 point guards, by the way. But
Crazy.
They traded Lowry for a second-round pick.
Yep.
In a not that deep draft, you know. Like, there's nobody in the second round that is better than Lowry.
Right.
Right? Not even close. So, Daryl Morey is not a dumb general manager, right?
No.
He's not Rob Babcock. So why would you trade him for a second-round pick? He had to have been so difficult. His value must be so low. Because there was an article that came out about how Lowry was talking to Masai Ujiri, and Ujiri was saying, hey, you need to figure out your stuff, because every time your name comes up, we never talk about your talent. We never talk about your play. Executives around the league are always, okay, how coachable is he? How is he going to be in the locker room? He's very mercurial.
Yeah.
Like, almost combustible. Very volatile. Very, some would say, petulant.
Okay.
Those are the words that have been used to describe Lowry.
I've heard it.
So, you have to somewhat question that, right? That all of a sudden, now, the reasons why Lowry said, because Lowry knows what everyone's saying, oh, it's a contract year. He's like, I know people are saying that, and of course I want a big contract, but a big reason for him was that, you know, he had a kid. Yeah. So, okay, I'll buy stock into that.
But what about this? And this is the biggest one, and to me, I think this might be the most telling as to why Lowry has really stepped up his game. What other team can Lowry go on and legitimately challenge to be the best player on the team? You know, where could he go and do that?
On a playoff team or any team?
Just on any team in general. What team will Lowry definitely be the best player on? Right?
The Knicks? No.
No. You know that's not true.
I know.
Come on now.
The Lakers, if without Kobe, can I count that or no?
I mean, you can. Maybe he would be. Maybe the Lakers would be much better. They would not, because Mike D'Antoni is a terrible coach.
Exactly.
That's the end. But that's notwithstanding. You're right.
By the way, if there's somebody who's a difficult coach and hard to, people don't really love to play for, is D'Antoni.
Yeah,
there's near mutiny in the Laker locker room. I don't know if you've heard, but
I don't know if I put that all on D'Antoni. I hate being a D'Antoni apologist, because I do not believe that
what he did. Did you like what he did with the Knicks?
No, I do not believe
he ran Amari to the ground. In my opinion,
I do not believe that anything that has happened in the past has shown that Mike D'Antoni is a bankable good coach.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that he falls into one of those categories of being a guy who's very average, but has gotten himself into some situations. He played with probably the best offense ever in Phoenix.
I don't know if you could say he's very average. I could say he's very one-sided.
Okay.
I think he's very one-trick pony.
But he's earned his bank off of his years in Phoenix.
Right.
And those years in Phoenix, like I was saying, is that he had the best offense ever. He had guys who were hitting their
But you can also say he's gotten guys paid. Like, think about Jeremy Lin. Where would he be without a Mike D'Antoni system?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You look at Jeremy Lin now on the Rockets. Yeah, even if he was undrafted, you think about all that stuff where he's getting cut, and went on the Rockets and on a playoff team. People would be like, yeah, Jeremy Lin's, but he ain't the story that would have been in New York and what he meant to the city, right? I mean, obviously, you're a Knicks fan, so you remember. I remember, right? It was his system that allowed him to really do that. You think about Kendall Marshall. You think about, like, Kent Bazemore's getting minutes now.
Yeah.
You think about Wesley Johnson was getting some numbers. Nick Young is getting, I guess, somewhat of a career year. A lot of these guys are getting really well. But then there are guys like Pau Gasol that got completely disrespected.
Yeah.
Was the second best player on, like, teams that won 2 championships. Yeah. Ridiculous. Chris Kaman hasn't talked to him in a month. And Chris Kaman, you look at that roster, Chris Kaman should get minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like Dwight Howard left because of D'Antoni, so he's very one-sided.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a wing, you're a point shooting guard, small forward, and you can shoot threes, and you like playing offense and you like to run, you'll do excellent.
Nick Young.
You know, but if you're a post player and you're like Zach Randolph or Marc Gasol, I want out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's very one-sided. He doesn't coach defense.
Yeah.
So I guess in overall he'd be an average coach if you equate the 2 grades.
No, he does not. He does not equal because his.
So he's not even an average coach.
He's not an average coach.
He's below average.
He's wolf tickets. He's wolf
Wow.
tickets. He's a guy that sells you on some bullshit. That's what ultimately that I'm saying is that Mike D'Antoni has made his bank off of his years in Phoenix.
I agree with that.
And they did not even.
I agree with that.
They did not even win a championship in those years. He went on from Phoenix to coach the Knicks, who were awful, who never really. Well, did you ever really feel like the Knicks were ever? Really
No, I felt like Mike
No.
Woodson definitely did a better job, despite what happened this year.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that you look at the Lakers, and I don't even know that you can say outwardly that the idea of him joining the Lakers was a good idea.
Oh, it was a terrible idea. It was a terrible idea.
I mean, just from the point of view that his offense just doesn't seem like it would have jived with the Lakers, right? And it hasn't.
No.
And it hasn't.
It wouldn't have. No. But you know that I can't blame Mike D'Antoni for selling his BS, presentation. I'm sure it was his interview presentation he was selling on Jim Buss and stuff. I blame Jim Buss.
Yeah.
Who's a decision maker?
Of course.
You know.
No, always take the money. I don't put that on D'Antoni at all. I'm just saying that I don't think that D'Antoni is a good coach.
That's why I like Ross right there.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, like I just, you know, he's a bad coach. So like, okay, so what was our original topic? Lowry on any team, right?
Yeah.
You put him on Detroit. Is he your best player? You have to think about it, right?
No, he's definitely not.
You put him on Cleveland. Is he your best player?
I would say definitely not.
You put him on Philadelphia. Is your best player? Yes.
Yeah, come on, man.
Orlando, best player. I would say yes.
Yeah, probably best.
So you have to go to
Orlando.
pretty much the bottom, like Utah Jazz. Yes.
Yeah.
Is he your best player in Sacramento? No.
No.
Is he your best player on who's not? You know, I don't know. Phoenix? No.
Nope.
So all these teams are in the playoffs, right?
Well, I was going to say how many of these teams are actually in the playoffs. Orlando's not in the playoffs.
No. I'm saying the teams that are for sure he's not the best player.
Yeah.
They're all in the playoffs.
They're all in the playoffs.
So if you put Washington is your best player? No. Charlotte is he your best player? I would say no.
No.
I would say Jefferson's been the best player. And he would still be the best player. He's killing it.
Yeah, he's killing it
He's
this year.
Killing it. Charlotte's not that great of a team.
He's always been a guy that a guy who can take advantage of good situations. Al Jefferson. His limitations are clear. But
think about where Charlotte was last year and where they are this year.
Yeah.
Charlotte's a much different team.
Yeah.
And I think the sole reason, Steve Clifford's proven to be a pretty decent coach.
Yeah.
They finally hired a good coach.
Right.
And Al Jefferson's killing it.
I actually think that if if Kyle Lowry would be a great fit for Charlotte.
I agree, but he's your best player.
He could. Okay, I can say that he can.
He could be your second best player.
He can make the challenge. For best player on Charlotte, in my opinion.
So a team like Charlotte is where he'd be your best player.
Right.
So now you have a good idea of where he is. Right. As a player.
Well, to me that says exactly. So to me that says that this guy is somewhat of a difference maker. He's the best player on the Raptors. If he was the best player on Orlando, they still wouldn't be in the playoffs.
No.
You know?
No.
If he was the best player on Philadelphia, they're not sniffing the playoffs.
No.
You know?
If he's the best, if he was on, let's just say
fuck, man, the Knicks. The Knicks tried to get him.
Right.
If he goes on to the Knicks, guess what, man? They're still not in the playoffs.
They said that 3 or 4 teams tried to get him. So we know Knicks are one of them.
Yeah.
The Rockets were one of them. The Warriors were one of them. And I think the other team might have been the Trailblazers.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
All right.
Okay, because they were thinking maybe Mo Williams for him or something. Or we wanted one of their young guys like CJ McCollum, and they would say no.
Yeah, of course.
So, the Knicks, we know why they didn't want to, because they didn't want to give up their young guys. Same with the Trailblazers. The Rockets and the Warriors were worried about his locker room presence and how hard he'd be to coach. Because Lowry has always considered himself a starter, right? Mm-hmm. Back with the Grizzlies, and then with the Rockets, and then with the Raptors and Calderon and all that. He always, I'm the starter. That's it. I'm good enough. I'm the best. Blah, blah, blah. And not listening to, like, okay, you may be the most talented, but Jose's doing a better job as a starting point guard.
Yeah.
Because of getting guys involved. He's more coachable.
Mm-hmm.
Has Jose ever been uncoachable? No, right? It's like his best attributes. He's coachable.
I mean, they've said play defense, and he's been unable to, or to improve his help defense, and that hasn't happened.
Right.
But it's not because of his,
effort, right? It's not that he's just not good.
No, I don't think anybody would say that Calderon's time on the Raptors was bad because of the fact that he didn't hustle. No one's going to say that Calderon lacked hustle. That's for sure.
Well, the Nets lost to Charlotte. Man. But yeah, so like, to me, I look at Lowry and I'm like, he has to be your third best player on a championship team. And so if you're going to re-sign him, pay him as your third best player. You know what I mean? At most, play him as your second best player, and I don't want to do that either. So it's like, I don't know.
So what do you think is the right contract for Kyle Lowry?
I think I told you it was like
these were the two questions.
4 year 32.
That I wanted answered is: do you re-sign Dwayne Casey as coach, and do you re-sign Kyle Lowry to be your point guard?
So so I have to like go from the beginning. So to me, beginning when Ujiri took over,
okay,
I would have rebuilt from scratch.
Right.
Like what the 76ers are doing, what the Magic are doing, what the Utah Jazz are doing. That's what I want. I want to get one of these guys, one of the top 10 guys. I want one of them. Okay? And I want another guy maybe late first round, early second round. Something like that. Okay? So I would trade DeMar, value high, see what I could get for him. Trade Lowry, see what I can get for him. That's what I would do. I'd keep pretty much everyone else, right?
Okay.
In that case, I would not re-sign Dwayne Casey. Obviously, I would have traded Lowry and would not re-sign him. So that answers those questions.
That's an alternate reality that doesn't exist.
So in this reality, I'm thinking, do I continue to build on this team, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess you're almost forced to say yes. You have to, and you do re-sign Casey. You do re-sign. Lowry, and you're just waiting for Lowry's. Landry Fields' contract to come off, and you waiting for Chuck Hayes' contract to come off, or maybe trade him in their contract year to get somebody.
Yeah,
that's what you're thinking. But I'm not re-signing Lowry for more than $8 million a year.
Okay.
So 4 year 32 is what I'm going. That's my ceiling.
Okay.
Now, obviously, he's going to feel who's worth more than that, and obviously, to me, it's pretty obvious to me that somebody's going to offer him more. Some dumb team is going to offer him more money.
Yes.
And in that case, I'd sign and trade him. Now, do I keep Casey? I think Casey's done enough for me to re-sign him. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that, to me, if I'm President General, I'm Ujiri, I'm Tim Laiwiki or whatever, I'm thinking I want a defensive team. Okay, check. I want us to have success in the playoffs, and a lot would depend on the playoffs.
Mhm.
You know, if we have success in the playoffs, and let's say we don't even win, but we take it to 7 games and it's competitive, all right, check. Has he developed some of our young guys? I see, you know, JV developing, and he needed a lot of work, right? I see Terrence Ross developing, and I like to see what happens with like somebody. Like, do we keep Dwight Bikes? What do we get out of him? Do we keep Julian Stone? What do we get out of him? What are we going to see out of Nando DeColo? What are we going to continue to see out of Vasquez? Like, do I like what I'm seeing from our guys? I'm like, yeah, more or less, I can say, in a nutshell, yes, I like what I see from Vasquez. More good than bad. You know, even Chuck Case, more good than bad.
I don't know about Chuck Case, but
well,
I'll let you finish your piece, and then I'll give mine on this question.
We know what Chuck Case' limitations
okay.
are. But there are times where he's been more effective guarding guys like DeMarcus Cousins than JV ever had a chance.
Fair enough.
Okay, you know, those are just things like strength.
Mm-hmm.
You know, setting screens. You know, and you know, I never question Chuck Hayes' motor.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes JV, when things aren't going well, he doesn't play as hard. But that's a young player, right?
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, I didn't love how Dwayne Casey didn't play Jonas more minutes, and especially late. But now I understand why, because I've seen him, like, Nikola Pekovic destroyed him.
Yeah.
He shouldn't just get destroyed.
Yeah, no
I
way.
like Nikola Pekovic a lot.
I said the same thing when that happened. That's a game that Jonas has to show his worth in that game.
Now, he plays well against Drummond for some reason.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but you're right.
He seemed like he played well against Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
But, you know, you talk about guys who are smart. I think about smart centers. If he's playing Marc Gasol, oh, man.
Yeah, he gets torched.
Now, he played well against Marc Gasol that one game, but, like, Noah destroyed him.
Yeah.
Like, Noah totally destroyed him. DeMarcus Cousins destroyed him. You know, Nikola Pekovic destroyed him. You know, so... Anyways, so my point is, do I like what I see out of Patterson? Yes. Do I like what I see out of Vermeer? More good than bad. So I'll say yes. You know, everybody down the line, I've seen more good than bad. The guys that I don't like what I've seen, I haven't liked what I've seen out of Novak. I haven't liked what I've seen out of Landry Fields. And if he can't get 5 minutes a game, then
yeah, he's no good.
Yeah, I mean,
he's no good.
I've liked what I've seen out of Salmons because he has done really good stuff for us when we've won a lot of games. So I'd say everyone down the line, he's done a really good job with. So if I'm keeping this team, I'll keep the coach.
Right. But you're saying, though, just to clarify,
right,
that you part with Kyle Lowry most likely. Because I'm going to be honest, 4 years, $32 million, he's not going to get that.
He's going to get more than that.
He's going to get more than that.
I know.
So you think part with Kyle Lowry, but re-sign Dwayne Casey as coach. That's the move. It seems like that's what you're saying. I mean, you're saying that you've seen real development out of these guys. Right?
So, but I'm also saying how well we're doing in the playoffs.
Right.
So if
so it's still very playoff dependent, right?
If we get swept by the Bulls or the Nets, I'm not re-signing Dwayne Casey off that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if we go to 7 games or we win the first round,
yeah,
I'm buying stock into it. Because it's all about the playoffs.
Okay.
And to me, playoffs really show coaches' ability because it's all about adjustments.
Okay.
Everybody knows everything about everybody else, right?
Right.
Like, there's no huge secret about the Nets that you don't know if we play them. It's not like, oh my God, Sean Livingston's actually pretty good. Like, he fills this role for them. Andre Blatch can shoot jumpers. Like, there's no secrets anymore, right? So it's what you do with what you have.
Okay, so then how about this? 2 scenarios.
Right.
Let's say we lose uninspired in 6 games. Would you resign Casey as coach or resign? Or yeah, I guess you're dismissing. From what I'm gathering, we're dismissing Kyle Lowry from the Justin Au GMing equation. You will not be resigning Kyle Lowry.
Define dismissing.
You believe that a 4-year, $32 million deal will be enough to re-sign Kyle Lowry, and I don't think that's really...
No, that's not what I said.
Oh, that's the contract you would offer him.
That's what I think he's worth.
Yes.
That's not what I think he'll get. I know he'll get more.
Right.
I know he's worth something.
Right.
And I do want him on my team for the right price. How much are you willing to pay for your third best player on the team?
Right.
Are you willing to pay him 5 years, $60 million, or 4 years, $60 million, whatever? I say no.
Yeah.
Unless that third best player is James Harden or something on the Thunder. You know what I mean? Outside of that, no. You got to be at least like a Serge Ibaka to get that type of money.
Okay.
You know, and has Lowry proven to be at least almost as good as Ibaka is for the Thunder? I would say yes. But he's done it for 1 year.
Yes.
Ibaka's done it for at least 3 years. So that's
fair enough.
So because of that,
but still, so pretty much in my opinion, the chances are you're gonna trade Kyle Lowry,
right?
But wait, Dwayne Casey, will he be your coach if you lose
6 games?
Uninspired in 6 games?
No.
And would he be your coach if you lose inspired in 7 games? Let's say it comes down to a last shot, and let's just say DeMar DeRozan misses the last shot.
Then I would say yes.
Then you would resign him as a coach. Interesting.
Think
One game difference.
No, it's how you play. You said uninspired. Uninspired is over the entire series. Or are you saying over 1 game?
They win 2 games, but they win so in maybe unconvincing sort of fashion.
Okay, I want convincing.
Yeah.
You need to convince me.
Right.
So, if I'm not convinced, I'm not resigning you.
So, the Dwayne Casey era of coaching comes down to how well he does over the course of this round of playoffs.
Yeah, I would say so.
That his future will be tied to how well he does.
Yes, because he hasn't done enough in the regular season where I'm like, oh man, we cannot lose this guy. Think about all the teams that we should have beaten and all the situations we were in. Do you think his end of game, late game executions offensively are good enough?
No.
Okay, there we go.
But you can kind of see where I'm leaning with where my opinion is going to be, right?
So I'm saying if in the playoffs it's inspired. So inspired as in there are good plays, there's good execution, there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of fight. Mm-hmm. That I can live with.
Right.
I can live with a coach that demands that of the team and gets out of the team. I can live with that. I can't live with the team that underachieves. So I cannot say we've underachieved. But if we are a 3rd seed or even a 4th seed in the playoffs and we lose in 6 games and it's like the Nets lost against the Bulls, he's gone. That's why PJ Carlesimo didn't come back.
Yeah.
Because there was not inspiring. Even their wins were not inspiring.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can make that judgment because it's about winning the championship and competing in the playoffs. And it's about making adjustments. To me, PJ Carlesimo, as great as he is, was outcoached by Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah.
So he's not returning as the coach. And so to me, with Dwayne Casey, I've seen, look, you can't lose against the Celtics. We've lost earlier in the year against the Celtics.
Yeah.
You can't lose against the Lakers. We lost to that. We were in position to beat, let's say the Thunder this year, recently. We were in position to beat the Cavs. We were in position to beat the Trailblazers. We were in position to beat the Bulls. These are all games that we left on the board. If we had won all those games, I'd be like, yes, Dwayne Casey.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. And in a lot of those plays that were drawn up, weren't good plays. Like, the DeRozan 1-4 is not a good play.
Yeah.
Okay, that's ISO. The Vasquez spin of... I don't know what you call it. It was like a spin move. He tried to pass it. It passed to the little thing. He just fell down. It's not a good move. But then there are some plays that he makes, like the Lowry hitting that game-tying 3 to his second overtime for the Thunder. That was a decent play.
Yeah.
So... it does come down to the playoffs because that's when it matters. It's like exams. How well do you do in the exams?
Right.
You can do well in your quizzes. You can do well in your assignments. But if you get a 56% in your exam, it doesn't matter. You got an 80 during the year as much.
Yeah.
That's why I think people still hate on LeBron now because he doesn't take the second shot as much.
Yeah, he likes to defer.
4-time MVP, 2-time champion is still being questioned late in games because of what he can do in the biggest moments.
Yeah.
Even though he could have 40 points in the first 3 quarters, and the last, 2 minutes, if he goes 0 for 4, 2 for 4 from free throw line, people will question it.
Yeah.
So that's my philosophy.
Right.
So if for that matter, I'd trade DeRozan if I could.
Yeah.
I would trade anybody of value to get really good picks and good young prospects.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
Okay. It's fair. It makes sense.
My philosophy is you never overpay for a player unless they are a true superstar.
Right.
If you could give LeBron James an extra $5 million a year, that I could support. Other than that, I don't believe in giving Kyle Lowry an extra $1 million over what he's worth. You don't overpay Well, first of all, you don't overpay for marginal talent like Linus Kleza or Landry Fields.
Sure.
Second of all, you don't overpay for starting talent, which is what he did with like Turkoglu, right? And I know he would have done with Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
I know he would have done the same with Lowry. So you can't pay a guy for what he did for you in the past. You got to pay him for what he will do for you moving forward.
Okay.
So what will Lowry do for you moving forward? 27, 28, one really good year under his belt. We know his ceiling. To me, we said he's not going to be more than your third best player on the championship team. There's a third best player on a championship team, not a dynasty. Think about it, not a dynasty, a championship team should make more than $10 million a year. And I say no.
In my opinion, it's got to be somewhat close to it.
Okay, I say no.
Yeah.
I say no.
Yeah.
Like DeMar would be your third best player, like at $10 million.
Yeah.
I can accept that. And then another guy 15, another guy at 18 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, think about the third banana, like Chris Bosh. Is he overpaid for a third best player? I think so. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Obaka, is he overpaid for a third best player?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
Do you think?
But they're serving these are guys that are serving. It's different because they're good players that are also serving roles at the same time. They're fitting into their positions on teams where their niche is needed. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Ibaka, as good as he is, I mean, he has to do what he does in order for the Thunder to be successful.
Right.
If he doesn't do that,
right,
they're in trouble.
Okay, but the Thunder are not just a contender, right? They could be a potential dynasty.
Right.
Potential dynasty.
Same thing with Bosh though. Bosh, if he doesn't serve his role, how good are the Heat going to be?
Right, but is his role worth $20 million a year?
They're winning championships, so I guess the answer is yeah. I mean,
okay.
I don't know that there's...
Because I say no. I don't think his role is worth $20 million a year.
I don't know that there's a blueprint for this, man. I feel like
and there isn't. That's why there's
everyone really loves to blow their wad on the Thunder play, on the Thunder building strategy. The Charlotte Bobcats have been trying the Thunder building strategy for years upon years upon years.
But this is where I disagree with you.
Trying to hit the right draft pick.
Right, you can say the Cavaliers did the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the difference.
Yeah.
The Thunders are obviously much better at drafting than any of those other two teams.
Right.
So there you go. If the philosophy works, if you draft well.
Yeah.
The philosophy doesn't work well if you don't draft well. It's like signing free agents. The philosophy works well if you sign the right free agents at the right and building the right team. If you don't do it the right way, it's going to be bad. So it's not the philosophy that's wrong. It's the execution of the philosophy.
Right.
So if you look at this past draft, Anthony Bennett, do you take him number 1 overall?
Hindsight is too clear.
Even when it happened,
I would not.
Even when it happened, would you have drafted him number 1 overall?
No, I would not have drafted him.
Okay, there we go.
Overall.
Would you have drafted? Okay, Tristan Thompson was okay. I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
Dion Waiters was okay. I'll take that. But everything else has to be good. Why would you hire Mike Brown back again?
Yeah. That's poor management, though.
Right? Would you sign Jared Jack to that contract? I get what he did in the Golden State, but it worked in Golden State with shooters. They don't have shooters in Cleveland.
I don't understand the Jared
Jack's
Jack
a ball
signing doesn't make sense.
Okay, there you go. So it all works out when everything else is good too.
But you know what?
Right?
Maybe it did make sense. Maybe they thought that Cleveland had a legit shot to ascend to where the Raptors are this year and be kind of a young team
and
that
they should have
are going to be like,
they should have been.
This is going to sound bad given the fact that we've seen what he's done, but Jared Jack would be good on the Raptors right now. He would fill a useful role on the Raptors. I mean, it would need to be clear to him that you're our third point guard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could see him having a use there.
Yeah, but I don't think he would ever accept that. To me,
he might not.
To me,
either way,
to me, Jared Jack.
They went for it. They tried to do it, but
I get it. Yeah. But going for it and doing it right are two different things.
Right.
Like, have the Thunders outside the Harden trade made a really, really bad move? Well, I don't think so. Can you think of a really bad move that they made? I don't think so. And that's throughout, making a coaching change or general manager, all that type of stuff. Like, for example, Chris Grant. Do you think he's a good general manager? Because I don't. I don't think he's a good general manager.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Do you think that like Sam Presti, like you look at all his draft picks,
Yeah.
they're on the money. There are no misses in his last, like, from the Durant to Westbrook to Harden and Ibaka. And they got Harden and Ibaka, I think, in the same year.
Yeah.
I think they got them the same year.
Yeah.
And then Reggie Jackson, and then you say what you will about Jeremy Lamb, but he's not a bust, a total bust. Like, there are no misses in the draft.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that philosophy works if you draft well. We'll see what happens with the 76ers and the Magic, right? Time will tell. But to me, the Magic haven't really missed either. They haven't missed with Oladipo.
Yeah.
You know, they had, the 76ers, I don't think they missed with Michael Carter-Williams. I think Nerlens Noel is going to be a pretty good player.
Yeah.
So, if the philosophy works if you execute it well, you know?
Those are a little bit too stay. Those ones are a little bit too wait and see to declare
but
one way or another.
I'm saying the difference between the Thunder, and like everyone brings up, oh, it doesn't work because the Bobcats, the Cavaliers, who else drafts so? I don't know. Like, you know, you could say the Bucks will be drafting this year. You could say the Jazz will be drafting this year. Sacramento. But, yeah, they look stupid if you miss draft picks.
But aren't the Raptors kind of doing that a little bit? I mean, their team is all young. The draft picks that they've made, like, what draft pick have they made, within the last couple of years that they've totally, whiffed on, right? Terrence Ross, you and I both agreed he could be great. Not good. Terrence Ross could be great. Right now he's just okay, but he could be great.
Right.
Jonas, same thing. Jonas has potential to be great.
Yes, he does.
He really does have potential to be great.
And
DeMar DeRozan, we're saying he can be probably the third best player on a team.
Yeah.
Most teams would be really happy to add in a DeMar DeRozan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, what that says is that we shouldn't be that far away from contending for a championship. So I don't know the merit in breaking down our team and getting rid of we got rid of the albatrosses on our team. We got rid of Bargnani,
Rudy Gay.
We got rid of Rudy Gay.
We still Landry Fields,
traded. Yeah, but that's mostly because nobody will take him. Right.
And that's why it's okay.
We traded Jose Calderon. Like, we did all of those things. Now, what is the result that we can reap from that? Now, to me, I don't really care for Dwayne Casey. Okay. But I have to admit that if he goes into the second round, you have to re-sign him.
And he plays we play hard, we play as well as we can, and like
I can't deny he's gotten
comes down
a lot.
To Kevin Durant making a miracle shot.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot out of his players.
Yeah.
Out of the players this year. And if they go to the second round, I can't just be like, well, they were shit when they had Calderon and Bargnani and, Rudy Gay. Yeah, it's because he's a defensive coach and these guys don't play any. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's gotten rid of them and now the team is starting to respond. If they go to the second round, it seems pretty clear to me that he should be resigned. And I'm not willing to say that he is a good coach yet. Also, though, I feel like their futures are tied. I feel like Kyle Lowry and Dwayne Casey's futures are tied. I feel like if you do one, then you should. If you sign one, you should re-sign the other.
Right.
If you don't re-sign one, you shouldn't re-sign the other.
Okay.
Because to me, things become really clear then, because you're saying by not keeping Kyle Lowry, you are saying we were the third best team in the conference last year. And we are now trading our best player, who you and I are admitting that Lowry is our best player.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not all about this culture of losing. I'm not about saying, well, we're gonna suck these years and then we're gonna get it right.
Okay, I understand.
You're supposed to be able to get it right.
Right. So there's two or three different models. The one is the tank and bank. I call it, right. You tank and then you hit the bank. Right. And then the second one would be you collect as many assets as you can and you combine assets to get one big asset. Sort of like the Houston Rockets, right? Where they were never drafting in the big lottery. They drafted in the first round, second round consistently. They drafted as well as they can with the 20th pick, as well as you can with the 15th pick. And then they combine a couple of those to get, when James Harden's available, you combine it to get that.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like the Knicks tried to do with Carmelo.
So you're exactly. You're acquiring assets to trade, held for trading. It's like a term from accounting where you pick up investments and they're meant not to be a long-term thing, but
you're meant to flip them.
Yeah, you're meant to flip them. But meanwhile, you teach these guys and to raise these value. So if you get Michael Carter-Williams, let's say, he's Rookie of the Year, you train and you teach him to be like a franchise point guard, so you can get potentially him being a center piece to eventually get a Kevin Durant in the future. Let's just say, right? 5 years down the road, Kevin Durant wants to leave the Thunder. Michael Carter-Williams is a franchise point guard. Okay, we'll make that trade.
Yeah.
You build up. So that's like another thing where you acquire assets, you increase the value of the asset, and in that way, with increased value, combined with other assets, get one big asset.
Yeah.
Then the third one would be free agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could say the fourth would be a combination of the 2 or 3.
Okay.
But the third big one would be free agency, right? Clear cap space, and then boom, try to sell the free agent, one free agent, whether it's a Carmelo, whether it's a, LeBron or Kevin Love, Russell Westbrook, Durant, whenever their contracts come up, and be like, hey, this is our core. We have this amount of money to sign. And we still have another $15 million to sign other guys and sign on our team. Yeah. So those are to me, the 3 main models. So I think the Raptors, the best case scenario, if it's not going to be the tank and bank, you're going to have to acquire assets. Because we're never going to be that free agent until we have continued, sustained playoff success. If we go to the playoffs 3-4 years in a row, then we can do it. Because think about the Bulls. They had cap space, and they've been in the playoffs every year. But have they been able to land that big free agent? Not yet.
No, they haven't.
Not yet.
They haven't.
And this year will be a big,
But they've always had a solid. They've always had a solid template for the team that they have. I mean, other than maybe this next offseason will be different when they maybe decide to amnesty Boozer. But this could be the one that they try to do what you said, that they realize that Thibodeau is a great, not good coach. That he's not good, he's great. And maybe getting that player, that's going to be the key.
Okay.
Right? I don't know. To me, I feel like when you're the Raptors, who are the 3rd best team this season, right? If they want to continue to build, they have to go out and they have to probably sign. They have to invest money and try to change and they are one really good player away from being a great team, and that might sound a little bit weird, but I really think that could be the answer. I don't know, but I don't know what player best would suit the Raptors to bring them over the gap.
First of all, what position?
I have no idea. I'm guessing because you like we said, okay, all this time we're saying the Raptors should have a guy that they can rely on in the clutch, right? Because DeRozan isn't that guy,
right? And
Kyle Lowry, as good as he's been this season, we don't really believe that he's that guy either, right?
Right.
So who do they go out and get? Who do they sign? Who do they add to this equation in order to get them to be over the top?
Right.
And what position does that play? Okay. You don't want to inhibit Terrence Ross's growth, but at the same time, maybe there's value there.
Maybe he's better suited off the bench.
Maybe he's better suited off the bench.
But exactly. I think at the same time, when we have a young core, we want to give them as much confidence as possible. Yeah. And the earlier you throw them out, the better off they'll be. Like, how do rookies get better if they don't play?
Right.
And that's why, I never really liked how Larry Brown handled rookies. All the way down the line. Jalen Rose talked about it all the time. I can't get confidence if I don't play in games.
Yeah.
And he ruined Darko. I think Darko's a better player than what he showed to be. I don't think he's worthy of number 2, but I think he's a top 10 pick. I think he could have been much better than he ended up being, and I think a lot of it is because of what happened in Detroit.
Yeah, that's hindsight.
I believe that. Same with Bargnani. He could have been a lot better player. How he was handled, right?
All those are fantasies, though. That's not. We can't.
But I'm saying that Terrence Ross would not be who he is today if Rudy Gay was still on our team.
Yeah.
And he didn't start. If, let's say, we started Landry Fields.
Okay.
Or we started John Salmons. Would Terrence Ross be this good? I'm convinced he wouldn't.
Right.
Because it's the confidence of being a starter and getting used to that. Because it's different being a starter than being a bench guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You believe you deserve to be here. You're going up against the best players on the other team instead of the kind of the secondary players on the other team. That for a young player, confidence is a big deal.
Here's
right?
here's a scenario for you. Let me see what you think about this, because realistically, it probably won't happen. But anyways, it's something to think about. Let's say the Raptors go to the Knicks and they say to them, "We will trade you. We will do a sign and trade. We will give you Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, and you trade us back Carmelo and Shumpert." Would you do that trade?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course you would do that trade.
I would.
I would do that trade too.
Shumpert would be gravy. Shumpert alone.
What if you had to include a first round pick? Would you do it then? Because I'll tell you,
for this year or which year?
They offer it this offseason. That it would be a first round pick for we'll say 2000. This coming draft would be 2014-15. So we'll say for 2015-16 for next year's draft.
I don't know about the pick, man. I'm a big believer in keeping picks.
I'm a big believer in keeping picks too. But to me, if you see that you've got a pick, to me is not. It's like it's a stock. It can go up in a couple of years. It can go up instantly. It can stay the same, or it can go down. Right? It's a question mark. You're not really sure of what you're going to get from that pick. You want to believe that your executives are going to make the right decision, but a lot of times, one, they fuck up, or two, the talent just isn't difference making. The draft talent is just not enough to make a difference. You want it to, but it just doesn't change the fact that it won't, right? Yeah. So what do you need to do? Well, the Raptors' biggest problem is that they don't have a player that they can go all in for. They don't have that guy.
But
Carmelo instantly would give them that guy.
Yeah, but if you give up Lowry and DeRozan and a pick for him and Shumpert, I don't think we're that much better.
Is it totally unrealistic?
We're definitely not winning the championship. We're for sure not winning the championship.
Okay.
We have Vasquez, Terrence, Carmelo, or Shumpert starts. I don't know. Amir and Jonas. That's not a championship team. It's not a championship team. I think that we can make it to the potentially conference finals. It all depends on Carmelo.
Yeah.
And really, it's my stock on Carmelo. He's like a borderline top 10 player at this point.
Right. But this is the exact guy. I mean, we're not talking exactly specifically about Carmelo.
Right.
But we're talking about what player do you add to the Raptors to say this is the guy, because Kyle Lowry, our best player, to use, not the guy, right?
Yeah.
He and DeMar DeRozan, he's also not the guy. Is Carmelo Anthony the guy? He's a guy that you don't mind taking that last shot. He's a guy that you feel as though you can put the back of your team on. So if you're trading two guys who are questionable at that spot for one guy who's definitely capable at that spot, I don't know. You're already the third best team in the conference. How much better can you do if you get that guy? And this isn't like, I'm not saying, I mean, it sounds bad because I'm a Knicks homer and I like the Knicks, and ultimately I feel like this trade, hypothetical trade, could potentially be good for both teams. But at the same time, it's not without possibility that, Shumpert could come to the Raptors and Dwayne Casey is able to build something out of Shumpert the same way that he was able to get something out of
Imagine
Lowry.
Shumpert and Ross on our as our wings. That'd be pretty good.
That's what I'm saying.
Because Shumpert can run some plays.
So to me, I think you have to try to do that only because of the fact that. But I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong. It seems like maybe that's what they tried to do with Rudy Gay, and it seemed like that was just a horrible call.
See, to me, if you're not going to tank, and you can't get, to me, I don't think we can play the free agency game. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of, there are 5 teams up for LeBron James. Are the Raptors going to be a legit player? If we're one of the 5 teams with a lot of cap space, let's say cap space is signed 2 max guys. We're one of 5 teams. Do we get LeBron James? No matter who the other 4 teams are, do we get LeBron?
Chances are we don't.
Yeah, there we go. So to me, if we don't, chances are we can't play that game.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Warriors tried to play a free agency game. And the Warriors have a much better core than we do.
Yeah.
And they got a young potential superstar. We don't know what Klay Thompson can really be.
Yeah.
We don't, Harrison Barnes, they added Iguodala in the end, and we can't even compete against them.
No.
right? So that's like a secondary third team actually that LeBron would go to. That's like not even the second team he would go to. The second team would be like Chicago or like New York.
Yeah.
Right? The main teams would be like LA and Miami. So if we can't play the free agency, we have to do the Houston Rockets type of model, which is, think about how they got their cores, right?
They didn't build through the draft necessarily.
No.
I mean, they got players from the draft. They got Montejunas from the
draft.
draft. They got Parsons from the draft.
But all the guys they traded away were drafted.
Yeah.
Right? And they traded picks. So they kept acquiring. Picks are so important, and then that's why they were able to sell the Thunder on it, because they got 2 first-round picks for it, which ended up to be Jeremy Lamb and Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Right? But those are 2 first-round picks in consecutive years with James Harden plus Kevin Martin, and it's like, that's not too bad, right? Like, I get why Sam Presti was thinking, all right, I'll do that. Yeah. Because the Houston Rockets didn't give away any of their picks, because it's the unknown versus the known.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of sell somebody on that, and that's our only option if we're not going to tank. And clearly, we're not going to tank.
We're not. I think
we're not going to tank.
It's irresponsible to tank after being the 3rd best team in the conference.
Well, after being the 3rd best team, but if we were the 8th team, if we were the Atlanta Hawks, how would you feel?
I would say tank 100%.
Okay.
To me, it's
like, to me, don't you think the Philadelphia 76ers have a much better future than the New York Knicks?
But that's because I'm buying I'm buying a mystery box over buying what I know.
Think about this. The last 2 years, they have 2 first-round picks, right? Lottery picks, top 10 picks, right? I think Marco Carr Williams is like 9th or something.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever. He's Rookie of the Year. He's.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. He's Rookie of the Year.
He's Rookie of the
Year.
You've
done all right.
If not, you're 2nd. Okay, so you've done real well. Nerlens Noel was a potential number 1. He'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
Then you got 2 more in this coming year, and you have another 1 or 2 in the year after that.
Right.
So the next 3 years, you can really scout everybody. You really do all your homework, and you hit at least a double. Not necessarily home run, but you hit at least a double on each of them. They're all on rookie contracts. You can still have space to sign a free agent.
Yep.
Or multiple free agents. That's not bad. I take that over what the Knicks are doing.
Yeah, I mean...
What are they going to do with Bargnani? What are they going to do with Murray? Nothing. What are they going to do? Like, Carmelo's their only piece, but that's the one guy you don't want to trade, right?
I mean, look, it's clear to me that the Knicks roster as it stands...
What are you going to do with J.R. Smith?
That was the...
What are you going to do with Raymond Felton?
The best example of...
What are you going to do with Raymond Felton?
The best example of what you were saying of not playing players
more than what they're worth.
Because he's not worth that. Last season he showed that he was worth around the contract that he got, but that was last season. There's a reason why it was last season.
Right.
You know? And J.R. Smith is that guy. He's the guy that's going to go out and have a really good contract year.
Yeah.
You know? Because his skills are like transparent. You know, what he brings to you is really clear, and it's not something that's irreplaceable, right? You can find J.R. Smiths out there.
You can find Nick Young.
You can boom, there, you just found another J.R. Smith. Nick Young. Kyle Lowry's are more difficult to find.
Right.
Right?
So my question is, like, the tank thing, it's irresponsible if you don't hit home runs in the draft.
Yeah.
Which is what the Raptors did for a bit. You know, not Colangelo's era, I'm talking about before.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. My opinion, we have to do somewhat what the Houston Rockets did. Or can we say Golden State did that? I don't know. Maybe. They're half draft, half acquiring assets to me.
If I had to guess, though, I bet that the Raptors end up doing the same thing.
As the Warriors?
No.
Or the Rockets?
The same thing as this year, I should say. That they'll re-sign Casey. No, they'll re-sign Casey, and they'll probably re-sign Lowry to a point. But
then what about everybody else?
Who else is Grievous Vasquez a free agent? I think that he might be.
More or less. None of them are like pure free agents, but they have team options.
Restricted free agents.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I would feel comfortable in signing Kyle Lowry to I'd give him like a Calderon. I'd see how well I can do with a Calderon contract. I'd give him like a 4-year, $40 million is probably where I'd start off at. Like I'd want that to be the answer. You know, I'd want him to agree to that. And maybe because of how well he's played and, the circumstances of the season that he would agree to that. But more than realistically, I could just as easily see him going for like $12 million a year, 4 years, $12 million a year. And I can see that being the breaking point to say, well, okay, fine, we're paying $12 million a year to our best player, but he's our best player who's like the second or third best player on most teams. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right. So how do you feel about this team then, moving forward? Okay, let's say we do well in the playoffs, we make the second round. You keep everybody?
Yeah, I keep everybody.
Okay.
I do. I don't see why you would trade the time to do shit, the time to make to tinker with your lineup, to change things around. It's past.
Yeah.
Once you show your fan base that you're a top 3, a top 4 seed in the conference, as shitty as the Eastern Conference is,
right?
You can't. You've got to win. You can't outwardly. The purpose is to win games, not lose games.
Right. So, let me ask you this: do you believe in a philosophy that sometimes you need to take a step back before you can take 2 steps forward?
To a certain extent, I believe that. I don't know if it works so effectively within the realms of team building. I think.
Well,
it's
for
really,
example, let's just say the Atlanta Hawks from a couple years ago.
Right.
We know what their ceiling was, second round.
Yeah.
So in that case, there's nothing you could do to make this team win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take a step back in order to take a step forward, like
right.
trade a Joe Johnson or a
right.
Josh Smith,
right,
or both.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So,
but wait, those teams, those are those teams, the Washington Wizards of a decade ago.
Rick Gilbert and
the same
Caron
team.
Butler,
who did you just say as well? Besides the Wizards,
the Hawks.
They have the Hawks. Both perfect examples because of the fact that those guys were there consistently. They had the same sort of seeding pretty consistently, 3 to 5 in the conference. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Somewhere in that range.
Right.
Now, there is no reason for them to have thought that they were suddenly going to ascend, that they were suddenly going to be better 1 year to the next year.
Right.
Why? I mean, there's a reason why you were 3 to 6 and never 1 to 3.
Yeah.
But off that first year, and also they were structured really differently than the Raptors. The Raptors are still one of the youngest teams,
right.
in the league.
I'm just
right?
talking about overall.
Yeah.
You think about it. They re-signed Marvin Williams to a lot of money.
Yeah.
They re-signed Josh Smith to a lot of money. They gave Joe Johnson the max. He's still getting paid the max. They re-signed a lot of these guys. Al Horford, like all these guys, they gave them the long-term contracts, which I fear that the Raptors are going to do. Like when JV's contract is up, 5-year $50, and then Terrence Ross, 5-year $50, and then DeMar's contract's up, $15 million now a year, and then Lowry, we keep resigning, and then now there's really no space to maneuver because you've more or less overpaid these guys
for your own guys. But that's what Colangelo did a lot of the time too.
Yeah, so that's what I don't want us to do. And just because we're winning, we have responsibility to our fans to win. You got to make smart moves. You still got to make smart moves. Is it smart to pay Kyle Lowry 5 years, $65 million? Do you think he'll do this in year 5? I don't.
I think 4 years is I would not give him 5 years. I don't think he's going to get 5 years, though. 5 years won't be what he gets. Do you think he's going to get a 5-year contract?
I fear he will.
Really?
I fear he will.
I don't.
What if he kills it in the playoffs? What if he kills it?
You could say that for anybody that's in the playoffs that's a free agent. If they kill it in the playoffs, they're going to get paid, right? Will Kyle Lowry, if the Raptors go to the conference finals, of course Kyle Lowry is going to get 5 years, $65 million, 100%. But if they lose in the first round, I don't know.
There's just a lot of guys that I've looked at and they've been overpaid. Like I look at Baron Davis's entire career; he's been overpaid. He's been amazing.
Yeah.
He's been amazing, but inconsistent.
Yeah.
And is he worth $20 million? No.
No.
So, but Baron Davis is much better than Kyle Lowry, and he's been way better for a long time. Baron Davis has been a multiple-time All-Star, right? I mean, these are big differences. So, I don't know. I know everybody is like, you got to re-sign him. Some people even say pay him whatever he wants. I'm not a big believer in that.
Yeah. No.
If I think Kobe Bryant's overpaid, then Lowry at $10 million could be overpaid, easily. And I don't know. Like I said, you're pretty much. It's like think about, this is the NFL, but think about Joe Flacco after he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, you're stuck. What are you going to do? That guy won you the Super Bowl. What are you going to do? He's the quarterback. You need a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, a lot of people have been saying, if Kyle Lowry's not our point guard, who's our point guard? And that's a good point. I don't know.
The NFL's so fucked up, though. I see.
The NFL's
it's different.
It's
different.
I'm just saying, in terms of if you have a lot of success in the playoffs, and he's the reason why, you're stuck.
You got to resign him
in the
You're
contract
stuck.
year.
Yeah.
Flacco, the best way to negotiate is to win the Super Bowl. Like, hey, I won you guys the Super Bowl.
So then your answer is,
you know,
that really Masayuri should have, as soon as he joined the team and as soon as there was ample interest for Lowry, he should have traded Lowry, because then you don't have to make that, you know, assumption. Right. You can cash in on those assets,
because
when
I think it's probability, right? You just kind of doing the math. What is the probability that he's going to repeat this year's production for the next 3 years?
3 years, I think, is possible. 4 years,
possible,
might
but
be
how confident?
stretching.
But how confident are you?
I feel as though Kyle Lowry, moving forward, being the Raptors' point guard for the next 4 years, I guess I'm all right with it. I have to be, since I'm saying that a 4-year, $40 million contract is something that I'd like to sign him to. I think he works well with the young team that we have. I think that he sets a good example, but with the way that he's aggressive and the swagger that he has.
Do you have any issues with concerns about his injury history? Because I do.
I do, but I don't. I mean,
honestly, it could happen to anybody.
Yeah,
but there's some guys who are more prone to it than others.
Nah, I'm not overly worried.
Are you convinced? Are you pretty sure and confident that he'll be 17-7 for the next 3 years? Because that's what he's averaging this year.
Yeah,
almost 17-8.
I feel confident that he'll be able to put up something close to that, and I think that if they're able to do these things that we're suggesting.
But what if he's 15-6?
That's fine still.
Okay, he's still worth 40.
I'm guessing though, if those are going down, it's because of the fact that these other players have begun to step their game up, right? Which all the more reason we're saying that Kyle Lowry is a good player to have on your team, but he just can't be your best player, and that's fine. He doesn't have. I don't want $10 million for 4 years. Is to say we want you to be our player on the team. You know that is going to be the distributor. You're going to be that guy that gives off the ball, but you're not. You're clearly not the best player.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know. That's what I would say about that.
Well, you know what? Let's just wrap this up.
All right. More of the story
later on.
I hope the Raptors go to the conference finals. But
we'll check back next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Later.
Peace.